Guys, so the portfolio section, very important. You're statistically 5 times more likely to get hired on Upwork with a good portfolio section. But how the fuck do you even make a good one? Let's find out.
Look, I'm gonna tell you about my life.
Yo guys, what's going on? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Yeah, I'm wearing an Ice Cube t-shirt, as you can see. It looks kind of gangster actually, if you can see that. Look at that, so fresh. You also might be wondering, wow, Ryan, you've lost so much weight, you know, so jacked, so sexy. Yeah, I've been on that ketogenic diet, and that has also been really fun. But look, forget all of that. If you want, like, you know, regular updates of my life, just go to my Instagram, because I'm way more active on there than, you know, I post twice a week on YouTube, and it takes me so much time to edit these videos because I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I'm good at Upwork, I'm not good at editing videos, as you probably noticed. And then, you know, but on Instagram, I'm posting like over 100 times a week, you know, on my stories, and then 5 times a week minimum on the post itself. So if you want to go check that out, I would suggest checking that out. But look, the portfolio section, at the end of the day, it's so fucking important that you get the portfolio section right. A bit like how in the other video I showed you about the description, we'll do it in this way. I'll show you the goal of the portfolio section, what not to do, which is more important, and then what to do towards the end. So there shouldn't really be any you know, confusion after this video, but yeah, let's jump in. So guys, what are the 3 main goals of the Upwork portfolio section? What are the 3 main goals? 3 things: showcasing your work, positioning as an expert, and then feeding into the convenience paradise. And again, guys, if you don't know what the convenience paradise is, please go and watch the DNA of Upwork video. That will give you a lot of help in terms of understanding pretty much every single video that I make. And I feel like I'm beating a dead horse here, but if you haven't seen the DNA of Upwork video, then this video you'll be able to understand it, but it won't make as much sense, essentially, because there's certain principles, you know, mindsets, things that govern Upwork, you know, the DNA of Upwork, the convenience paradise, the 2 commandments, these things that are very important. You need to understand those things. So go watch the DNA of Upwork video, and then you'll have a better understanding. So the DNA of Upwork is that nobody, or at least the clients, don't know what the fuck is going on. Let me say that again. The clients don't know what the fuck is going on. This is super fucking important. Okay, so the first like 2 goals of the Upwork portfolio section are kind of like mixed together, I guess. So to showcase your work that you've done on other projects, case studies, etc., and then positioning you as an expert. These 2 things kind of feed into itself, obviously, but the goal, a bit like in the last video, in the Upwork description video, where I talked about, people who actually watched to the end, I gave away like a really good strategy, the 3-section method. Remember how in the 1st section method, for people who have watched it, I talk about social proof and positioning? You do that in the description. You also want to use the portfolio section as a way of positioning you as an expert. Because remember, and the 3rd goal, you know, feeding into the convenience paradise, and again, if you haven't seen the DNA of Upwork video, go watch that. But the convenience paradise, they all kind of feed into each other. So you want to position yourself as an expert, because then it's convenient for a client to work with you. Does that make sense? So, you know, the description, you can lie and so on, but the full portfolio section is so fucking important. You know, to actually showing people that you know what the fuck you're doing, and you can show them with examples of other clients that you've worked on. Now, very important, if you don't have any clients and you've never had a client, I'll get into how you can go about sorting that out so that, you know, you don't get lost over other people who have worked with clients. So I can help you out with that, don't worry. Loads of my students, for example, have never had a client before. And so they literally, the main reason that I made this personal brand was to help agency owners who struggle to get clients through Upwork instead of fucking cold calling or cold emailing. That's the point. But yeah, showcasing your work, positioning yourself as an expert, and then on top of that, feeding into the convenience paradise. So any time that you can make it convenient for the client in general on Upwork, always do it. I'll say that again. So anytime that you can make it convenient for the client to work with you, you should on Upwork, because the convenience paradise is such an important thing on Upwork in these freelancing websites. Okay, so now we know the goals of the portfolio section. That makes sense. We're basically trying to social proof, position as an expert, and feed into the convenience paradise. This is a very quick recap. So what shouldn't you do? And I'll go into what you should do later on, but let's talk about what you shouldn't do first, because I think it's important to kind of highlight the obvious things that people may be doing wrong, and you can just quickly get rid of those. And then I'll give you more of like a clear plan and some ideas that I've done and my students do to help them get hired using the portfolio section. So one of the main things is just not having enough things on the portfolio section. This is like the most important one. It's always funny, like, even in the infancy of the mentorship program and then towards now where it's like, fucking, I'm booked out and I'm doing like 19, 20 hours of coaching a week, and I'm going ham with my students. It never ceases to amaze me the lack of effort that people put into the portfolio section. Every single time I get on with a student, first call is about profile building, then we build that out, and then we go into, in our second call, we go into, finding clients, how to go after them, etc., etc. But I know for a fact that whenever I go on that call, when we're building it out, and then I'll check up with them, halfway through that week, the portfolio section is always like empty, or at the very least they'll do like two. They'll do two, case studies, like two exact like projects that they've worked on in the portfolio section, and that sucks. I would say a minimum, because you can have 4 per page, and then you can go to another page. I would say have a minimum of 2 pages, so 8 case studies. And you might be like, fucking hell, I don't have 8 case studies. That's fine, and we'll get into how to actually go about writing those if you don't have them towards the end of the video. But essentially, you need to have a minimum, I would say, at least a minimum of 1 page, really. But a good hygiene standard would be 2. And then the second thing, which is obvious, I guess this is super obvious in general, because it's kind of, the thing with the description as well, like we spoke about in the last video, is just not putting enough context in there. Let's say you do take a picture, you put a picture and you build the case study thing on the portfolio section, but then you don't put any context in there. You don't put you put like a couple sentences, like here's a healthy client that I worked for. What? Like put paragraphs. 2 or 3 paragraphs that really help the potential client who's reading that understand who you are. A great question to ask is this something that I would be impressed by? That's a really good question to ask, while you're actually building this portfolio section out. So first of all, very simple, a minimum of 4 projects or 1 page. I would really say 8 if possible, so 2 pages long, 8 different projects. And then also more context. Those are the first 2 things. So I wanted to throw a quick one in there about what not to do. And this is actually similar to what we spoke about in the Upwork description video, but essentially making yourself brand new, like positioning yourself as someone who's starting out. Again, we spoke about that, how like in the description, that's fucking game over. And, even as I was writing this video and as I was writing the description one, I was really trying to think about it as like, well, why do you not want to position yourself as someone new? Like, why is that, There's a big thing in the SMA space of positioning yourself as someone who's new. And in general, the easiest way to understand it is that positioning yourself as someone new does not feed into the convenience paradise, in the sense that being brand new is not convenient for the client. If you don't go for the convenience paradise, you don't abide by the principles, the DNA of Upwork, then you're fucked. Very simple. Don't position yourself as someone who's starting the fuck out. Okay. Okay. So guys, now this one is one that I just want to fucking grab some of my students sometimes and fucking throw them off the edge of this balcony, because this is so common, and not even just with my students, but just in general, is basically, please don't use okay, I'll put it this way. When you're brand new, you don't have any projects. So what are you going to do? You're going to go www.canva.com and you're going to create, some fake social media posts. And I would suggest that. That's actually what I was going to suggest at the end of the video. And I'll give you some other tips as to how to make it a little bit more legitimate. But essentially, a lot of people will just literally go onto Canva. They'll see the Canva templates, the ones that come down on the side. You tap it and then that's it. Just put that one in. And guys, at least put a little bit of effort into making it look like a realistic client. A lot of the people on Upwork, especially a lot of your clients, they know what Canva is. A lot of our clients know what Canva is. For the 40, 50 clients I've had, I'd say the 99% of them know what fucking Canva is, because I told them that's how we make some of the content for them for social media management. But it's fucking hell, guys, like at least put some effort into creating a better template. So don't just have, you know, a very obvious Canva template as one of the things in your portfolio section, and you know, put a little bit more effort in. You know, I'll go into how to do it in a second, like when we start talking about what to do, but really just don't make it super bait obvious that it's fucking, you know, a template. That's very important. Also, don't just like put it all, and this is really important, and you know, no one really talks about this, but don't put everything in one particular niche. Does that make sense? So like, don't make every single part of the portfolio section about like just restaurants or just real estate or just like a fucking cupcake business. Don't make it just like one particular industry for the portfolio section. Put a wide range of things in there. Remember the fucking description video we spoke about. We're gonna cast our net wide. Yeah, cast the net fucking wide. You remember me jumping around out fucking in my garden, like casting the net wide. And one of the only ways that you can cast your net wide is by having lots of different niches. Because remember, Upwork is not a place to niche down. It's a place to have multiple niches, you know, and you don't want to cut yourself off, because remember, the goal is to be convenient, the convenience paradise. But most importantly, the goal of the portfolio and the profile in general is to get them to message you back, like we spoke about in the other video. And as a side note, guys, I'm sure you've probably already noticed this, but with these YouTube videos, I'm trying to tie them all together to give you like a really easy way of understanding how, you know, Upwork works for social media management and, you know, getting clients and so on. And also, you know, just any industry as well, because some of the people in my mentorship program, you know, are doing like SEO or fucking film writing, and, you know, those principles still apply for any sort of niche anyway, or any sort of profile. But look, let's get into what to do now, since we already know what not to do. So guys, we spoke about what not to do, and I'll recap all of those at the end anyway, just to make it fucking super easy for you. But let's talk about what to do, okay? So obviously, first of all, we want to have a minimum of 8 projects, ideally. If you can't do that many because you're fucking lazy, just do 4, but I would suggest doing at least 2 pages worth of the portfolio section, you know, 8 sections, such as 4 for each page. Definitely do that. That's something that's really important. If you don't have any clients yet, you're more than welcome to go onto Canva and create some content, you know, that you know, would be like client work essentially, and you know, throw it up there and just be like, look, this is some work that I've been working on social media, etc., etc. You know, or here's a crazy idea, just get your friend, very simple, and I do this, tell a lot of my students to do this, get your friend and be like, can I handle your social media? You know, whether or not that's like 100% like, you know, written down contract, fucking proper businessy or whatever, and just be like, yeah, sure, make a couple of sample posts for him, throw it up on their social media, take a screenshot of it, or just take the actual picture of it itself and then put it on there. And then this is where the magic will come, and this is something that no one talks about, and this will really help you guys. And trust me, this is really, really important. I spoke a little bit about it in the description video about how we use the testimonial section in the 3-section method. I'm saying a lot of words. If you're actually, you know, a fucking legitimate watcher of the show, you'll know exactly what I'm on about. But in the 3-section method, I talk about in the bottom of the description, you can put testimonials. So let's say, for example, you put a testimonial from a guy called Bob. All right, Bob, and he runs a hairdressing company. Then what you can do is you can go into the portfolio section, even if that one is like fake or whatever, is essentially irrelevant. Go into the portfolio section and then create some sample, create some pictures and a lot of context, lots of paragraphs and so on about a particular project, about Bob's project, and then tie the two together. So imagine, hypothetically, a client comes through, they see your profile, they go through your description, and they see the testimonial from Bob with his hairdressing company. And then they scroll a little bit further down, and they'll be able to see the portfolio section, and they'll be able to see that you work for Bob as well. So now that even makes it, the validity of that even more, it's more like realistic now. It seems like a real client. And that's one of the ways that a lot of my students have got away from not having any clients and not having any work experience on Upwork to getting clients really quickly. And it's almost like you create your own fucking like work experience on there. And that's something that I did in the beginning, and I thought that everyone knew about this, but apparently not. But that's, guys, I'm telling you, like, if you're not doing this, you're fucked. Because like, I know for a fact that this works, because I've had fucking like 40, 50, you know, one-to-one students. One-to-one, not like a course, one-to-one, you know, and, you know, this works really, really well for like the majority of my students and for myself. So, you know, use that for sure. But yeah, like I said, tie those things together like we just spoke about. The portfolio section should have at least a minimum of 8 projects on there. You know, so 2 pages or 1 page if you're feeling lazy. Then also give lots of context, lots of paragraphs and so on. And let's also move into some other things that you can do that will help you with your portfolio section. Okay, so lastly, just in general, like I always talk about the profile in general, I say making it chunky in the mentorship program, but I also spoke about it in the description video. But look, you have to make it chunky, lots of paragraphs like we spoke about, but not just paragraphs, but you can add like multiple pictures to the portfolio section, okay? You know, you can add multiple pictures to each project, and that's something I would do. So let's use Bob the hairdresser as an example. Have, you know, a social media post from Bob for Facebook, and then a social media post for Bob for Twitter and Instagram, and you know, add them on there. Now, I realize that like what I'm saying, even as I'm saying it, I realize that this is more for people who don't have any clients, and that's kind of like, look, at the end of the day, the majority of the people who are watching this, you know, are struggling agency owners who can't really get any clients and want to use Upwork to get it. So you might not have a lot of work experience, but let's say that you're already crushing it. Maybe you're one of my students, or maybe you're already doing really well on Upwork. One other thing is, if you have like if you're already crushing it on Upwork, and you have like work experience, make sure to tie them together like manually. And the way that you do that is you go into the portfolio section, and you'll see in the top right hand corner, there's basically a section that asks you to link it to the actual job through Upwork that you did it on. Make sure to link those two, you know, especially if you've got like a 5-star review. And then what happens is in the work experience section on Upwork, there'll be like little pictures that will come down in the way, and that makes it chunkier, makes it look more better, you know, and shows that you've actually done some work. But for the majority of you who have never got a client on Upwork, or maybe you've only had like a couple and, you know, are still, you know, really trying to find like, you know, a regular recurring income stream with this, you know, definitely follow some of the things we said. But look, I'm going to recap it all for you right now in that kind of a spitfire thing for you. So let's jump in. Okay guys, so fucking rapid fire. Let's have like a little recap as to, you know, this entire video, the goals, what not to do, and then what to do. So the goals originally, show off the work, position as an expert, and in general, you know, feed into the convenience paradise. Those are the 3 most important goals. The goal, remember, the overall goal, the overarching goal is to get them to message you back. So anything you can do to impress them, social proof, and on top of that, maybe even show them in the portfolio section, you know, systems that you have, etc., and how you worked with other clients, you know, how you can make it easy, convenient, easy for them to work with you. Anything you can do like that is an important goal, and that's something to keep in mind. So what not to do? Not enough examples, that's one. We spoke about the minimum requirements for that. Making it chunky is super important, but most people don't make it chunky, so don't not do that. You know, make it, you know, lots of paragraphs and so on. That's something that you don't want to do. You know, only having like 1 picture on the fucking, like, on each project is stupid as well. And then what else? Making them all in the same industry. This is so fucking important. Don't make it all about the same fucking niche. And then lastly, positioning yourself as someone starting out. But I don't need to be a dead horse with the positioning yourself as someone starting out, because you guys already fucking know that. Like I fucking talk about it all the time. And then what to do, essentially, very simply, go for the minimum requirement. So 2 pages, 8 projects, 8 projects, make it nice and chunky, you know, position yourself as an expert and so on. Use multiple pictures for each project. Don't just use a shitty Canva template. You know, put a little bit of effort in, tie them to the testimonial section in your description and the portfolio section, tie them together, whether you have a client or not, or should I say, whether or not you've had a client on Upwork and have, you know, a job review on there or not. And then what else? Blah, 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 lots to say, make it chunky, and just overall casting your net motherfucking wide, because remember, the goal is to get them to message you back, not to close them, because the DNA of Upwork, you don't know whether or not a client's going to be big or whether or not a client's going to be small. So it's much better for you to cast your net wide, bring everyone in, and then filter and calibrate from there. So I hope that is It's just a short video, but to be honest, there's not too much to talk about with the portfolio section. Remember though, you are 5 times more likely to get hired on Upwork with a client if you have a really good portfolio section. So it's something super important to do, in the same way that specialized profiles, get you up to 30% more invitations. But these are all things that are kind of important, and let me know if I missed anything. I hope that that's helpful. I'm actually off to London this week to meet up with some of my students, and then to meet up with some other people in the SMMA space, which I'm excited about. But yeah, hope everything's going well, guys. I'll speak to you guys soon. And just so you know, in case you didn't already know, I'm not gonna hammer on about Instagram. You should definitely go check it out. 100 pieces of content a week on the stories, 5 times a day on the fucking post and so on. It's super poppin'. Hashtag, it's the best ever, basically. And then, I haven't really spoke to you guys about this, but I drop these videos every Tuesday and Thursday. But because my audience is mostly American, I try and put them towards the later end of the day in the UK. So just a heads up, if you're ever wondering when these videos come out, they always come out every Tuesday and Thursday. I'll never miss a day because I'm fucking organized as fuck. So yeah, good talking to you guys, and peace. I might go fucking jump on that trampoline actually.